Okay. So before we start this session, I'll say something about our affair. So we are stepping into the 15th year. So we have clients across multiple spectrums. So we have worked for more than 300 plus clients for the past 15 years. So 2000 instances are being monitored for 24/7. We have multiple daily maintenance and archival jobs and daily backups. And these are the various services that we are offering. Okay. So I think a week ago we have conducted a poll on LinkedIn, like, which security issues that people encounter in MySQL. Just a second, guys. People are still joining. Okay. So a week back, we have conducted a poll on LinkedIn, like, which security issues that people encounter when managing the user and access management in MySQL. So unsurprisingly, most of the people has voted for the weak password, so which contributed 44%, followed by managing the privileges for each and every user, and other categories are unauthorized access and credential rotation. So this entire webinar is going to cover these 4 topics, and I will show you some demo, how to use these in MySQL 8. So what is in this session? We will see about password expiration, then password validation, then how to lock and unlock the account, privilege management, and then credential rotation, how we can rotate the application credentials. Okay. First thing is password expiry. So password expiry, as the name says, that how we can set up a password expiration for a specific account or globally. So this can be established globally, or you can set it to a specific users. So there is one I think parameter, default password lifetime, which can control this policy. Setting it to 0 will disable it, and 365, if we set that, the password will be expired for the password will be kept in the system for at least 1 year. So this is all about password expiry. I'll show you something in MySQL. So I have a MySQL 8 server which is running in AWS. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to create this user app user, and I'm giving the password app user, and I am setting password expire. So when you set this password expiry, let's assume a scenario. You are a database administrator or a system admin, or a one who has the admin access to your databases. Someone from your client, someone from your system, or someone from your company, or some developer wants to create a user, and you want to share the credentials. So you will be creating the user in MySQL, and you will be sharing the credentials over the form of communication, probably in an email, or probably in a Slack, or probably in a chat. So now you can know the password of the user which you have created to the client, and the client can know the password. So with the password expiry, if we can set something like this, create user identified by some password and password expire, what it will do is MySQL will create this user and it will set the password. And when you share the credentials to the user, let's say that user is trying to log into the system. When he entered the password, then if you do something like show databases, show process list, or even at least select one, he or she cannot able to do that because the account is set as a password expire, which means that once he logged into the system, he has to reset the password. So they can run using set password equal to new pass, then they can log in with new pass, then they can do show databases. This is pretty much simple, right? Which is which I feel this is one of the most underrated feature of MySQL 8. So by this way, you can create the user, and the credentials are known only to the person who is using that. So the mail or the chat where you have shared this credential has no use in that. He has already resetted the password, and the new password is being known only to them. So this is all about password expiry. So I'll leave it a moment. If you have any questions, you just raise a hand, or else we'll move it to the next topic.
Or expert advice not available.
Good. Okay, we'll move to the next one. So this is the syntax which I have explained. Okay. Now next coming to the part of password validation. So like in the initial poll, which I have mentioned that, most of the people has opted out for the weak passwords. So weak passwords. So not only in the database system, if you take any application or any account, weak passwords are the one which is creating lot of data security issues. So there is one statistics which shows that around 30% of people choose a password which is less than a 6 character. So it can be admin 123 or company name at 123, something like that. So they are very much easier for the hackers to decode. So I have given this link here. You can go to the link and you can put your password. It will say how much time it will take for a computer to decode. Some passwords like admin at 123, it takes probably a millisecond for a computer to decode. So how we can control that? You can educate people, you can educate database administrator not to use a password which is less than a 6 character. But at the end of the day, if you can't put any constraint or any validation over there, people will still use that. So what MySQL does is MySQL introduces something called password validation. So password validation, what is it? It is a plugin which is disabled by default. So enabling this plugin, it will do a validation strength. You can have a list of configurables where you can set something like my password should contain a strong uppercase character or a mixed case character, something like that. So you can mention that. So once this password validation is enabled, DBA or even for a root user, you cannot able to create a system account or an administrative account or a application user with a weak password. So this is one main thing which have introduced in MySQL 8 for the password validation. So this is controlled again. This is controlled by a policy which has 3 flags. One is low, medium, high. So when the password validation policy is set to low, it just checks for the password length. If you give something like admin, it will reject that. So if you put admin 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, then it will accept that, because it will just check for if the password length is less than a 6 character or whatever the length that we are defining. Then medium means it will check not only the length but also if the password is having a special character or mixed case count or whatever that we are defining in the configuration. Then if you put the password policy as high, so you can keep a dictionary file. Let's say that you have an organization and where maximum of the passwords are opened with your company name at 2023 or company name at June 2023, something like that. So it's a practice from the employees to keep the password something like that. So what you can do is in the password policy, there is a dictionary file where you can create a file, then you can add all these words. So people who are trying to create a user with these words, the user creation statement won't pass through. So this is the beauty of this password validation. So we will see an example here. So I'm just trying to connect with the root user. Okay. So like I said, we have to install this validation component. Okay. So now the validation component has been installed. Now you are trying to create a user. Okay. So this is what password validation does. I'm trying to create a user at localhost. I'm giving a password as PASS. So what it says is, our password does not satisfy the current policy requirement. What is the policy requirement? Let's see that. So these are the configurations which are available for the user to tweak on the password validation. So this is what I mentioned. If we set this password policy to medium, it won't accept the password which is less than this 8, and it should have a one mixed case count, one number count, and one special character count. You can increase this, and that will reflect when you create the user. So now what I'm going to do is I'll try to create a user with satisfying all these stuff. Now you can able to create a user with a bit complex password. So this plugin can be uninstalled right away without any fuss. So now what password validation is doing is, it is making sure that your database system that you are using in production doesn't have a weak password, which means that each and every account that you are creating in the database is having a strong password. So this is very much essential for a database system which is serving the production. Okay. So questions, anyone, or we'll move it to account locking and unlocking? Okay, cool. So we'll move about account locking and unlocking. Okay, Sunil has raised a hand. Yeah, Sunil, please go ahead.
He
Hello?
cannot speak, man.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Okay.
Yeah. You're audible, Sunil. Yeah, tell me.
Actually, you said about that password requirements, right? Like when we're
Correct.
creating passwords, it is throwing some error. We need some requirements, right? For that requirements, we have to
Right.
install some plugins in our system.
Correct. Yeah, that is what this password validate plugin. So you
Okay.
have to just go to the MySQL and you have to just install this plugin. After that only these password validation and all you can able to do that. By default MySQL this plugin is not loaded, so you have to manually install this plugin.
Okay.
Sure. Thanks. Okay. So we'll move to the account locking and unlocking. So why we require an account locking and unlocking? So this is a pretty much common question. So basically, the need, there might be a brute force attack on your database system if you are, accessing your applications publicly, which is not at all recommended, but somehow your database is exposed to the public. Then brute force attacks can be quite a bit of problem. Then next, preventing unauthorized access. Someone trying to, access your account by giving a repeatedly, a wrong password, trying to hack your system. And next, compliance with the security. Almost, all the audits like PCA and other audits requiring, what is the password locking time and other all kind of stuff. So to compliance with your security, account locking and unlocking can be used. Okay, so like all other parameters, like all other solutions like password expiration, password validation. So account locking and unlocking also controlled by two parameters. First one, failed login attempts. As the name suggested. So what it will do is it will see how many incorrect passwords I can able to take before blocking the access. So this is what a failed login attempt says, that number of times. Then password lock time. Password lock time is nothing but how much time I can lock this account after these many incorrect passwords. This is clear, right? So failed login attempts are nothing but how many times my MySQL can wait until I lock the account, and the password lock time is for the duration, how much time I need to lock this account. So in failed login attempts, N specifies the number of incorrect passwords that it can accept. And for the password lock time, N specifies the number of days the account is locked. Like if we give it for the 2 days the account can be locked. And if we can set it to unbounded, the account locking can be permanently locked until you manually unlock. So we'll see a demo. I'm going to create a user. Install this plugin. So you see that a user is created. So create user at localhost, identified by my pass, fail login attempts equal to 3, password lock time equal to 4. So what does fail login attempt says? It says that this user from this host can withstand 3 failed logins, after which this account will be locked for 4 days. So this is clear, right? Okay. So now I'm going to connect, and for this webinar point of perspective, I am giving the password in the command line, but for any production system, this is not at all recommended. So passwords should be used something like this. Okay. So I am just created the user with the password mypass, and I am able to connect successfully. Now I am trying to connect with a different password. I use access. Okay. It says that access denied for user. Now I am trying to connect second time. Okay. I am not able to connect again. And for the third time I am trying to connect with a different password. Okay. So now what it is saying that your account is blocked for 4 days because you have given a 3 consecutive login failures. Here you have to note this 3 consecutive failed logins. I'll cover it in the next slide. So now what you are trying to do is you are trying to connect again with the correct password. You are not able to connect because once the account is locked, until you manually unblock, even if you use the correct password, you cannot able to do. 0 will disable account lock and unblock. Like for temporary locking should trigger, consecutive password failure should happen. So that is what I have mentioned here. It's due to 3 consecutive failed logins. Like this is 1 failed login, this is second failed login, and this is the third failed login. So if you do something like that, if you log in with the incorrect password for the first time, and then if you are logging with the correct password for the second time, and then with the incorrect password, and it should work. Until you have a 3 consecutive failed logins, the account will continue to work. Okay. This point I already mentioned. If the account is locked, even if you log in with the correct password, you are not allowed to log in into the system. Okay. How to unblock this? So there are 2 ways. So one, you can run a flush privileges globally, or you can if there are multiple user exist and if there are multiple user accounts are getting locked, and if you want to unblock it one by one after reviewing the password or changing the password, something like that, you can manually run the alter user command to unblock this. Okay, so I am trying to connect with the correct password. I'm not able to do that. What I'm going to do is I'll run this alter user at localhost account unlock. Okay, now again I am trying to connect. Yes, this is okay. So this feature, probably for an admin accounts or a non-application account, something like that, probably we can set it so that people doesn't use a wrong password, and we can prevent all kind of system attacks or hacker attacks. So account locking and unlocking is one of the silent features that you should use on a MySQL system. Any doubts or any questions? Yeah. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, if you're setting the password lock here for days, can we make it at least hours, or only by default it comes by days?
Correct. By default it comes for the days. The minimum time is 1 day.
Okay, fine. Thanks.
We can set up a higher login time, like 3 password. We can probably set it to 5 because consecutive. If you put 5 times only, it's gonna get locked. So 3 is probably a very short number, and probably you can raise it to 5 or 10.
Okay, we can't reset for hours and minutes, right?
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Sure. Thanks. Okay. Then privilege management. So privilege management is the one which has been in the has been doing it for the years in MySQL. The common problems, most of the developers and most of the people who are using MySQL, if they want particular access, they shouldn't. They are not in a position to ask, I need this access or I need these many access. Not at least for a startup one. So what people will do is, in case if someone wants access to the production database, they'll give full access to the database. That includes drop, alter, so all other admin statement that people will give to these users. So this is not at all records. Like, let's say that, my application is trying to update something and trying to read something, probably trying to create a table, then probably, drop and alter is not record. So in case if you want to do something, then do it in a different users. So that is a general practice and a general guidelines how to manage these privileges effectively. What the challenge is, let's say that, I have a multi-tier application, like, I have a catalog module, I have a order module, I have a fulfillment module, and I have a warehouse. So there are multiple modules, and what really the challenge is, warehouse modules can access only to the warehouse related tables and warehouse related data. So they can read the orders or something like that, but they cannot they shouldn't modify anything. Like when it comes to order, it has to touch only the order table, order related information. It shouldn't touch the product and product pricing and all. So there is a very high challenge for a DBAs to maintain this sort of specification in a database system. For a small tier database, it is fine, like, having a couple of modules and, 5 to 10 users, it is fairly straightforward to give privileges. But when it comes to large tier database system, so managing privilege, it's a bit hard. So what MySQL introduces the roles. So roles are nothing but specific grants that can be stored in the form of roles. When someone wants an access, what DBAs can do is, DBAs can easily inherit that role and attach it to the user. So to explain it further, I'll share you some demo. Probably, you will get an idea. So let me log in with the root. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to create a role called application reads. Okay. Now I have created the roles. Now what I'm going to do is, I will do grant select on. There is a database called foo, and for all the table, to application reads. Now I have defined a role. Now what I will do is, I will create another role, create role, is the role name, report write. Then I will give the insert on report start to report write. Okay. So now you have two roles. Now there is a request coming from the developers that I need to create an user. That user will access the foo database. Okay. Now what you can simply do is, you can just run this grant. This is the role name. Application reads is the role name to user at localhost. Let's say that you have another host, like 10.10.10.1. Okay, there is no user present, so okay. Okay. So this is fairly simple, right? So all you have to do is, you have to inherit this role, application reads, and you have to attach it with the user. So now what you can do is, in case if you want to do any modification, like, if you want to add any databases, like, you have created one table and you want to attach it to that database, all you can do is, you can simply modify the role and you can add another statement to this role. Now what it will do is, it will reflect automatically to all other users. So this is a very efficient way of creating the users and managing it in the database. Like, again there is a request coming, like, I have to access and I have to write something to the report database. Now what you need to do is, you have to just grant the role name. What we have created is report write to the user 10.10.1. Now okay, so now what you can see from the below information is, This user has the
I got
grant for application reads and report write. These are two roles. These roles are nothing but one is having the read access to the foo database and another is having the write access to the report database. Even if you have 100 and thousands of users, it is fairly easy for a DBA to create these many users without compromising anything. So this is one important privilege enhancement that MySQL 8 has introduces. So any questions? All right. So the final topic is the credential rotation. Okay. So credential rotation is one of the main pain points for a database administrator or a compliance or from a point of a compliance. Like, you have a 10 to thousands of web servers running and applications were deployed on multiple places and everything. Right? So rotating a password, let's say that you have an app user which is being used in the system for more than 6 months or more than 8 months, where almost everyone from your team has known the password. But the main challenge for you guys is, this user has been stored in multiple places. Like, there were a couple of crons that are running with the app user, and there were warehouse system which has the schedulers which is running from the app user. And rotating the password for them is very challenging. Like, MySQL has a single password. Like, in case if you want to update anything, first you have to take a downtime, then you have to update the password, then you have to update all your application. If your application is a Kubernetes managed one, then it is fairly simple. You can update the password, you can rotate the credentials file, and they can then you can redeploy the pods. But in case if you have older system running on different servers and different places, it will be very, very hard. So what you can do is MySQL introduces a dual password. So as the name suggested, the user account have a 2 passwords. So what 2 passwords you will have is you can easily rotate the password without taking any downtime. So I'll explain how. So this is the syntax. Let me log into the system. Again, as a root user. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, so I already have a user localhost created with the password mypass, correct? So this we have covered it in the third slide for the mypass. Now what I'm doing is I am updating the password for this user new pass, retaining the current password. Okay. So I should use new password. Okay. So what I am doing is I am updating this user as a password is called new. I am updating a new pass 1. So now you are trying to log in with the user new pass 1. This is working, and there are old applications and the old crons that are running with the old password will continue to work. So now what is the situation is, your server is having 2 passwords. You are taking down applications one by one and you are replacing the old password with the new password. But at this point, this user is having 2 passwords in which MySQL is serving the traffic completely. Okay. So these 2 new passwords are being used by the MySQL, and unless you update all other application, it will work. So now what I am doing is I am discarding the old password. Let me log into the root user. Okay. For the user at localhost, I discarded the old password. Now if you try with the new password, it is old password, it is saying that access is denied. And if you try with the new password, it is working seamlessly. So if we follow this approach and rotate the credentials probably for 6 months once or 3 months once or for every quarter or for every year, then this way we can completely avoid the downtime. So dual password feature from MySQL 8, we can actively manage the 2 passwords for the user account and we can satisfy all the complaints. So I think that's it. So we can go to the question session. I'll probably allow you to unmute. Sure. So we can have the questions if there are any.
Hey, hi, Sridhar.
Yeah, hi.
This side, Prashant. I'm asking that is there a way to persist user for specific days only, and after that it can be removed from DB itself?
You want to you are asking about the temporary password, temporary user account?
Yeah. If I want to create one user, that should be persist for a couple of days. After that, it can be removed from DB itself.
Okay, okay. Sure, sure. I need to check, Prashant. I'll check and I'll respond to you.
Okay. And one more thing, will you going
Right.
to upload this event recording somewhere?
Sure. I'll see, Prashant. Or at least, I'll try to put up all these things in a blogs and I will upload.
Yeah, that will be more better. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So I'll put a follow-up blog with a detailed posting on each of the every segments, and I will cover that temporary user patient part also. And that will be a more detailed technical one, and I will post probably in a week or a couple of weeks.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, sure. So
Sorry, one more time.
yeah,
As you
sure.
said that dual password. So the same
Right.
user going to carry the dual password till we are not expiring the old one.
Right.
Okay.
So unless you run this command, like alter user discard old password, the user will have a two password. So you can connect with any of the two passwords. So you can take servers one by one and you can update the passwords. And once you are confident enough that all the servers are being rotated with the new password, you can run the discard password.
Okay. Yeah, great.
Yeah. Sure. Anything else, guys, or shall we close? Thank you. Okay. Thanks, everyone. So I'll leave a follow-up blog and probably if you can.
Okay. From your official website, blog.
Yeah, Murli, yeah.
Okay, good. Good. It was knowledgeable, Sridhar. Okay. Thanks a lot for this
Sure,
session.
thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Murli.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for